Hello and welcome to the 19th edition of the Bookbreakrs podcast. With me, as ever, are a full squad tonight. Paul and Enda has returned from his sabbatical. How are you, lads?
Very good.
How are we now?
Good, good. This week we're going to talk about the takeover of Newcastle United by the Public Investment Fund in Saudi Arabia. I mean, a ridiculous deal in terms of the size of the the funds available to these guys. Just to put it into context, lads, the Public Investment Fund have something like 320 billion behind them. The Man City guys have 32 billion.
If you add Chelsea, Barcelona, and City together and multiply it by 5, you've just about got what the boys in they're taking over Newcastle have.
Yeah. So
ridiculous, isn't it?
Ridiculous amount of money. I mean, it's one thing that struck me during the week was, given the financial issues of some of the other clubs around Europe, namely Juventus and things like that, I'm a bit surprised that, Newcastle was the one that they chose. But I guess that tells you a lot about the Premier League, right?
Yeah, I think it's the Premier League, and if you look through all the clubs there, they're the only one that's really for sale.
Yeah.
Also, Man City can't fill their ground. They're worth billions. They can't fill their ground. Newcastle will always fill their ground. One club, City, it has a lot going for it insofar as buying it, but a lot to be done as well. Like,
it's a bit of a strange one, really. That I remember a couple of years back there was some big issue with the guys that were buying Leeds, and they were. I can't remember the exact ins and outs of it, but I know they had a bit of a shady background, and I don't think the EFL let it go through at the time. Obviously they stopped this deal. The Premier League stopped this deal with the Saudis. I don't know, it was about 12 months ago now, and for some reason it's now gone through. You'd wonder if it's something where the government has somehow intervened and thought, well, wouldn't be the worst thing for an economy recovering from a pandemic and probably suffering a little bit from Brexit to have some Saudi Arabian investment in what, I mean, I've never been to Newcastle, but I don't think it's one of the most affluent parts of the UK.
No.
So something that generates money for that area.
They're going to have to, and it's a good thing they have loads of money, because they're going to have to pay to get people to go there.
Well, this is the thing, and this is why, if as a Newcastle United fan, people shouldn't be getting too excited. I wouldn't have thought, because you have to look at that team. I mean, there's talks this week about managers like Conte and people like that coming in. Why would they come in? Why would they come in at this stage to that project? I don't see Conte as been a money merchant. He's at kind of the peak of his managerial career, I think, where trophies are there for the taking if he's at the right club. And Newcastle isn't the right club for him at the minute. That team is in a relegation battle. That squad is in a relegation battle. No matter how much money they have, they still can't sign players until January. So effectively, that squad has got to get them through the next 2 months, a busy Christmas period. Whether or not Steve Bruce is the manager, it's probably unlikely, I think.
Yeah.
But he met them today. Supposedly he's gone by the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's inevitable. I mean, they haven't won a game in the Premier League this season yet, so he wasn't one of the fans' favourites, nor was Mike Ashley. So I think they'd like to get the two of them out at the same time, really. But you're not. I'd be very, very surprised if they entice a top-class manager in at this stage of, let's be honest, with the money they have behind them, they are going to at some stage in the next 3 to 4 years, I'm guessing, be pushing for a Champions League place. But it won't come that easy to them, because it's not like when Abramovich came in at Chelsea. Chelsea were hovering around the the top 4, top 6, winning cups and things like that for a while. Newcastle haven't won anything. I don't know, it's 60, 70 years or something like that.
Yeah.
So
no,
they won the FA Cup in the 60s, isn't there? Or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a big project.
You've touched on a lot of stuff there now, Paul. So I think you're right. Like on the Brexit front, I mean, obviously we're guessing there, but it sounds very plausible that the whole Brexit thing happened because of a north-south divide. People in the north got fed up with all of the investment going into London, and now you've an opportunity to put some investment in Newcastle. So that's definitely behind the scenes. Who knows what's going on here? So that's an interesting point. I think in terms of the squad, then, like you'd have to be very careful, wouldn't you, right now, because where they are, as you said, they haven't won a game yet. If you start throwing in lots of marquee players, you could go down as easily as you could stay up. Like this season, they need to stay up, and then.
But this is the issue really, because what sort of manager or players are they going to attract at this moment in time? It doesn't matter who they sign in January, because they're still going to they're not going to make European competition next season at like an absolute outside chance of maybe winning an FA Cup, for example. But even that's highly unlikely with the squads that the top 4 have. So they're not going to be in Europe next season. It's again a huge push for them next season to get into the top 4 or top 6. You've got established teams there who mightn't have the amount of money that they have, but they have a history. They have money to spend, and likes of United paying 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 pound a week to players for years. So they're up against money. It's a little bit different when Abramovich took over at Chelsea, because there was established teams where, like I said, they weren't starting from absolute zero. They were thereabouts.
Took
and
4 or 5 years for City, didn't it?
Well, it did, yeah. I mean,
because they were starting from absolute zero as well. Like,
what standard of player could City attract initially? There was
they had Joe, they had all these lads. Like,
they signed Robinho, but he thought he was joining United. Like, I mean, historically, they've had a couple of like star players over the years. Shearer was a hometown boy, so you wouldn't really count him in it. They had Asprilla, but he didn't stay long. Ginola was there. Ginola wanted to go down playing in London.
Cole.
Yeah, it's going to be a very difficult place to convince the star players to go to, no matter what the money is. And really, if they do go there, they're going to be the mercenaries going for the money. But again, and this is going to be the problem for them now.
I would all hinge, I'd imagine, on their managerial appointment. You'll have to get someone that has a bit of pulling power. That's why they're as well off get rid of Bruce now.
And bring in Deitch.
Oh Jesus! Don't start. It'd be about his level, all right. But sure, why would he leave them to leave again in the year when they go and bring in someone different? Like,
this is the thing, you see.
If they like, if they were looking at it in a holistic way, in any other sort of way, they're just what they should. Well, what they would ideally be looking at is a guy for 2 years, get us to mid-table, then bring in another guy, a higher level guy, that'll get us into 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and then from then on. But
that in itself is the problem.
Yeah.
Because what manager are they going to attract to that job now?
For 2 years,
Knowing that. Because that's exactly what I was thinking. That's exactly what you were thinking.
Look at Pellegrini, won the league, and he was basically depressed because why wouldn't he? Because he knew Pep was waiting in the long grass.
Yeah.
No matter what he did, like,
this is where it doesn't necessarily work. It doesn't, like, you can't really guarantee a happy outcome as a Newcastle fan.
Pellegrini is someone I could see going in there.
Yeah, possibly, but like I said, whoever's going in is going in for.
Like, where is he? Is he at Villarreal or someone like that in Spain? Is he now, or?
I couldn't tell you where he is. To be
I think
honest
he's
with you.
he's at a kind of a mid-table Spanish team. So
Yeah, there'll be no shortage of people applying for that role.
Applicants.
I mean,
Might apply for it myself.
yeah, but I think you're right. It'll probably be a two-stage job. One will be to get a team sort of built and ready to challenge, and then they'll throw more money at it probably and get a marquee manager
yeah.
and start firing. But
How does? But I would wonder, like, how does financial fair play? We all know it's a
Yeah.
joke, like, and
Well,
I
this is
suppose
the thing.
they'll probably go down the city route of sponsorship.
yeah,
But
this is the
this is the
worrying
irony.
thing. Sorry, Paul, go on, yeah.
This is where UEFA. It'll be very, very interesting to see how UEFA and the Premier League approach this, because Man City have gotten away with it. Paris Saint-Germain have gotten away with it. Newcastle United don't have a global
Real
fan
and
base.
Barca have gotten away with it historically and still do.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue with Real and Barcelona, although I know there's huge financial problems there at the minute, that at least they have a global fan base, so
Yeah,
they could possibly sustain it, sustain heavy investment against turnover and sales and of merchandise and shirts and all that sort of stuff. But Newcastle United, I would say 99.9% of their support comes from the city of Newcastle. So you will always get those who jump on the bandwagon. The Man City supporters now, they were never Man City supporters before 2008, and there will be the same with Newcastle.
they were probably Chelsea supporters before then.
Well, yeah. I mean,
And
you're
before that, they were United
that.
supporters.
Yeah.
Oi.
but it will be interesting to see how they approach it. I mean, that Amanda Staveley has mentioned financial fair play, so it's something that's in their thoughts, but they're going to have to significantly, I mean, massively increase their turnover for them to be able to spend £200-400 on players.
It's not like you can sell any of the existing players for a wedge and try and kind of move money around, as it were. Plus, one of the things is, on the back of this takeover, they know what City, PSG, and others have been doing and how they've managed
circumvented
the fair play rules. So it's even more worrying that these guys are coming in knowing the lay of the land, because those rules came in fairly recently. And was it before City was taken over or after? It was after. I think. Yeah. So the fact that those rules are in place, they'll have had time to study them and figure out. To
be clear, City were found guilty, but it's because of the way they got the evidence they couldn't ban them. Yeah.
Anyhow, I mean, as a United fan, Manchester United fan, I'm not worried about Newcastle, to be honest with you. I don't see that as being something that'll work. I don't see in 10 years' time we'll be looking at Newcastle challenging for the Champions League or anything like that. It's not the sort of place where you're going to get, and like, I think you sent something in WhatsApp the other day, and that there was like Mbappe and Haaland and somebody else. That it's never going to happen, is it?
Lewandowski. It's never, ever going to happen.
That's not the standard of player they're going to get.
Guys, seriously, here's 500k a week. Yes, please.
No, I don't believe it.
No, but sure, like, Mbappe's getting that. Mbappe's getting that in PSG, and he still wants to go to Real Madrid. There's still something. There's still some sort of a draw to Barcelona, PSG for money, but Barcelona, Real.
The league itself is a draw, so you will have that. Yes, it's up in the north, but like Newcastle's, it's not a bad place to go out. I don't know what it's like to
supposedly banging night out.
Yeah, like it is a nice place to kind of live, I would say, bar the weather. Like there will be no shortage of guys, career footballers who just decide, right, I'm going to do 5 years here, make my wedge, and then I'm off to.
Ander Herrera and the likes of him, maybe.
Yeah. Funnily enough, that was one of the names that I was thinking about earlier on when I thought that there's a guy who might actually go there. But you have to also accept that now I think the old Chinese market has died down a little bit, but these players can go to America, they can go to they can go out to Asia, Middle East. Middle East and pick up these big wedges of money in nicer climates.
Yeah.
You know, they'll probably win the same amount of trophies. I mean, I do not see Newcastle United breaking into that, no matter how much money they have.
I see them. I can see them being in 8 years. We'll say. I could see them being a top 16.
Yeah, but it's analogous to City. Why, if City could start from scratch and be competing for Champions League, what's the difference with Newcastle? And they have better fans, so like.
Well, there is, do you know what? And like, you know, in many ways,
it's been done before. That's what I see. If I see them getting top 6 within maybe 6 or 8 years.
Yeah, but it's been done before when there was where other teams, like, you know, where, let's say the Premier League, when Man City came in, it was United, Arsenal, Chelsea. Liverpool weren't winning titles. You know, Arsenal built their stadium and couldn't invest in players, and they dropped out of it naturally, and it just became then it was virtually a 2-horse race between United and City. Then Chelsea picked one up, and then the Leicester one, you know, that whatever. Oh God, Candy, I won't even try to pronounce his name. The Thai guy who owned Leicester. He didn't spend incredible amounts of money to win that, so I wouldn't count that Leicester victory as buying anything. That was just a freak result. It was
like,
just
that was
a
one
team.
That was one of the greatest.
Storm.
Yeah, that was one of the greatest.
Perfect storm. That's what it was. Everyone else went to crap. They had a good run.
Yeah, like,
and the funny thing is, like, about buying it, like, you still have City cheating like they did last year. Oh, half the camp has COVID. 3 people, 2 of them staff, had COVID. They got 2 weeks off. They went on this massive run with their massive squad. So, and they still got away.
I wouldn't disagree. I have
no idea. That is a fact.
I have no idea.
Sure, look at Tyrone in the football this year.
Look, was it Villa? Was it Villa who had to play
Villa
against Liverpool, all the kids?
Yeah, all youth kids. And Newcastle had a really bad year last year. Villa were half dead for half the year because most of them had COVID.
So guys, let's bring it back to
City.
I want to bring it back to, like, you know, whether they will get to that level, and I've no doubt they'll be top 4. And the question will be at whose expense, right? So, like, if United have a bit of money at the minute, Liverpool have a bit of money, City have a lot of money, you know, Newcastle are now in the picture. So, like, they're going to start mopping up the odd signing that these teams have gotten purely just on money, right? And they're going to be in the mix. And, like, if you take, like, who's the one man in the Premier League who's going to be absolutely licking his lips over this deal?
Go on.
Like, I'm not sure. Daniel
Levy, right? Because he held off selling Harry Kane for 150 or whatever he was looking for. He could probably now go 250.
Wow,
and he'd probably get it.
Yeah. And they'd be the only ones to pay. They'd be the only ones to pay it, so they'd have this marquee signing.
But you can't. They can't do it though. They can't do that.
Or they shouldn't be able to, but they will.
No, I don't think they will. I don't think they will. I think it's too obvious. I think City was done over, you know, what happened to City went on over a period of time. This is a huge, you know, there's going to be a bit of a backlash from the footballing community to Saudi Arabian money coming in. You know, they have an atrocious human rights record, and that sort of thing. I think they're more in the spotlight than the guys from Abu Dhabi are, you know, and I don't think they're going to be able to get away with it. They cannot go out and spend 500 million next summer. They just can't do it, because that's probably double their turnover for the year. I'm guessing it's somewhere around the 200 million mark. They just can't do it, and I don't think that's why I don't think it's going to work.
They're going to be going on exhaustive tours over the summer now, anyway.
But this
all these places, for sponsorship.
Buy rejects from the top clubs. That's what, you know. They've been linked today, which I think was Donny van de Beek, Eric Bailly, Anthony Martial, Jesse Lingard from United.
Yeah. Hey, listen. That'd be 4 massive signings for them. Like, that would improve. I'd bring them up to. I reckon those 4 signings would bring them up to mid-table easily.
I don't think so, because Anthony Martial is an absolute waste of time. Eric Bailly is always injured. Jesse Lingard, I think, is a decent player. And Donny van de Beek is unproven in the Premier League. So they can
but like that's because fucking the tactical genius that is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer won't give him a go.
Yeah, but like it would take them to a level higher than what they're at, right? And that's what they're going to gradually keep doing. But this
throw an Ender Herrera or some other PSG reject into that, or you the likes of Danny Ceballos, or kind of rejects from.
And if you like, this window coming up for them at Christmas is probably going to be pretty big, I would say, because they need to get some of their accounting done in this season.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to do it all in the summer where there will be limits and caps and stuff. But all of these players who are winding down their contracts, like 32, 33-year-olds going on freeze, they'll be snapping up all these guys, like your Ramoses, all these lads coming to the end of their career who need a payday.
Yeah.
That'll be a lot of it,
And if they get 2 years out of them and they bring them up the table,
exactly.
That's what they did. That's what they do. City did it. Yeah. They got what your Barry from Villa. They got Hargreaves from United.
Yeah.
But Mike Ashley was in charge of that team for 14 years, with the same wonderful supporters in the same wonderful stadium. And he's a businessman and he knows how to make money. He couldn't make money out of Newcastle. He couldn't increase the turnover. There was no benefit to him in not making Newcastle successful. He didn't deliberately set out to keep them in a relegation battle year in, year out.
But he didn't invest anything in them. He didn't invest anything in them. Every year he sold their best player. And I'll tell you how much of a businessman he was. Did you ever hear Andy Woodman?
No. Maybe I did.
Ex Newcastle United goalkeeping coach. He was with Alan Pardew. So he's out drinking one night, and then the next minute he spots Mike Ashley, and there you are, Andy. Shots. And then he goes, "You're a grand lad, Andy. 8-year contract for you in the morning." 8 years in football, like.
I think Sam Allardyce had an 8-year contract when he was there.
Right, so he goes in anyway the next day, and he goes to Pardew, 8 years, and Pardew goes to him, "Listen, none of the rest of us are on it. You can't really do it." And he was thinking to himself, "Well, if the gaffer's not on it, I can't." So he goes up to Mike Ashley and he goes, "Listen, can't do that. The rest of them aren't on 8 years." Bang, they all got 8 years. And he sent the contract to a sports lawyer, and the sports lawyer rang up about 2 hours later and said, "Have you signed that contract yet?" And he said, "No." He said, "Get your pen out and sign it quick." The exit clause was, no matter what happened, if they get fired in the morning, paid up. He says, sign it and get yourself fired because you get paid in full.
Yeah. But guys, look,
so John Carver, Alan Pardew, all these lads, and they all left. But they all got paid in full for 8 years. So how much of a good businessman is he, like?
Yeah, but the likes of Ashley and most football club owners don't get into it because they love football and want to raise the football and bar and fill the silverware cabinet. Like, they're getting into it. They're speculating on the growth of TV money, the expansion of the Premier League brand globally, and like a rising tide raises all ships kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, he's in there speculating probably to try and earn. And
he speculated, and it took him 14 years to make his money. But you can't say it was there for him to make money out of it. It wasn't. He didn't put any money into it. Yeah. He sold their best players year on year, took the fucking TV money. That's not exactly accurate.
No, but my point is that in that time, that club, it wasn't worth his while investing, because if he had to spend, I don't know, he's worth quite a bit, but if he was to say spend 100-200 million pounds of his own money, he wasn't going to recoup that. That wasn't going to be recoupable at Newcastle. If he thought he could make them into Premiership, Premier League winners or Champions League
at best, he was going to make them mid-table, even with that kind of investment. So why would he bother?
Exactly, and that is the reason why I don't believe the Saudi Arabian money will make them a successful team, because it doesn't matter how much they spend, they have to abide by the rules of the game. Otherwise, every billionaire in the world would be buying.
No, they don't. They don't. Barcelona don't. Real don't. City don't. Chelsea don't. So no, they don't.
No, but
There's going to be something around it. I disagree. Like, no, they don't. Yes, they should, and it's all rotten, and it's this, that. But no, they don't, and they won't.
I think they will be treated differently. I think they will be treated differently for two reasons. One, because they're one of the smaller clubs, and whatever way you look at it, you might want to look at football in a romantic sort of way, but that's not the big teams get treated differently.
Yeah.
And secondly, because of the Saudi Arabian link.
Yeah, and there'll be a
I
lot
don't
of
think they
people.
will get
There'll be a
away
lot.
with it.
There'll be a lot more people eyeballing them and following them than maybe you have with the other clubs, given their relations, shall we say?
I think you'll have the government monitoring it.
Yeah.
Where you never had the government monitoring Man City's money.
Do you know what?
And
Paul?
also, like lads, like they've been trying to hound Abramovich out of Chelsea. Like, he hasn't been in Chelsea in how many years? Like, he's not allowed into the country. Like,
if I was suspicious of FIFA, UEFA, or the UK government, I know who'd be top of my list anyway. For a second, I don't believe that the UK government were genuinely trying to stop this. But
well, that's what I mean. I mean, it what's changed in 12 months?
Yeah.
Supposedly, whatever deal they had with buying sports, they got them to clean up the piracy, and that was the big issue. Supposedly.
There's bigger things at play here.
The bigger issue.
Well, that's the official line anyway.
Spent by the government in the last 12 months on supporting businesses through COVID and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And if these guys have 300 billion, and even if they only want to spend 1 or 2 billion of it in the English economy. But
yeah, because that's City's big thing, aren't they? Redeveloping their side of the city and bull like that.
And
so I suppose if they come along and do that, I'd imagine they'd be given a lot more leeway on transfers as well. Like,
but does that come in? Does that come on? Like, does investment in infrastructure and stuff like that? Does that come into the financial fair play thing, or can that be
I'd imagine
off?
it could. I'd imagine it could, but again, I'm not privy to the absolute ins and outs of it.
Yeah.
Only to know that there's a lot of cheating bastards out there.
That's the world, and right, lads. Will we have a quick comment on poor old Sunderland?
Oh, it's God Almighty! It's sickening for them, isn't it?
Oh.
It is. It must be sickening. I mean, they're really, really bitter rivals up there, and I think every Sunderland fan will probably not secretly, openly be happy that Steve Bruce is going to get the sack just before they come in with all the money to spend.
Yeah.
He was never
as a Newcastle man, he was never going to be accepted at Newcastle because he previously managed Sunderland.
Sunderland, yeah. Even though he is an actual Geordie, like.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's certainly good for the Northeast, and it's probably a good time to be a Newcastle fan. But if I was a Newcastle fan, I wouldn't be getting very excited about it.
Yeah. Look, no one would.
Sorry, there's something in my eye. Sorry.
No, I think we'll leave the app off this week and for the old for the old international break. But I don't think anyone would begrudge the Newcastle fans. Like, they're
they deserve it. Like, they are really good fans.
And like from people of our age and from looking back on the Keegan team, like you had Esprit, you had Ginola, you had the big Belgian at the back, you had Cernacek in goals, like. And he was always good for a few goals on the fantasy football as well. Philip Blair. You had fucking Gary Speed, God rest him. Do you know, Jesus, like
as a brand, just the Premier League is just going to have one extra team who are really good now. So the Premier League is going to be good.
Like that puts the likes of, I suppose, eventually in 2 or 3 years' time, from what we've seen looking on the Man City model, right? And I accept Paul's point that Chelsea are a bit different because Chelsea were there or thereabouts when Abramovich took over. So you have to treat that differently. But looking at the Man City model, 2 or 3 years' time when they're knocking on the door for top 6, your Arsenal, your Spurs, you're looking over your shoulder, like.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to put you on the spot before we sign off. Will they win the Premier League within the next 4 seasons, not including this season?
I'll go a little bit further and say they won't win it within the next 6.
Okay.
I'd be along the lines of Paul there. I'd nearly push it out to 8, but definitely not within 4. I mean, they'll be in 4 years' time. They'll be in or around 5th, 6th, knocking on the door for Champions League. But I don't see them. Winning it within that time frame. Now, from then on, maybe they can be a big team and pay the money and attract all the players and the managers. But there's a lot of work to do between.
Buy it back for half the price in 5 years.
There's a lot of work between now and then.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Okay, lads, we'll leave it there. Thanks for your thoughts on the Newcastle takeover. We'll be back next week. I think we're going to be looking at who is the best player in the world right now in advance of the Ballon d'Or announcement.
We can't vote for ourselves either, lads.
We've got Salah.
I mean,
money. Oh, sorry, go on. We're talking about something, were we?
Yeah, I mean, it probably would have been Enda if he didn't hurt his thumb there recently.
Yeah, because that's gonna help me playing centre half. My thumb.
All right.
Oh,
cheers,
stop.
lads. We'll
See you next
there.
week.
Bye.
All right. See you.